All right, guys, so I wanted to start over with this. So what we're going to do is we are going to add these fractions, but instead of just finding that common denominator and multiplying it out, we want to make sure that we are showing our rectangular model fraction models. So when you are doing this, you are going to have two models because you have to show that first fraction and you do have to show that second fraction, okay? So the first fraction is half, and I'm going to color in half because I'm going to show half. And then I'm going to show thirds on this one, okay? So right now what you guys have to kind of think about is if I have two parts, but I also have three parts, what could I split this fraction into and that fraction into to have them the same? Well, if I'm thinking about 2 and 3, what could I do? Well, I could make them into sixths. So for 1/2, I would draw two lines because then I would be able to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And on this fraction, I'd be able to show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that way. So you always want to think about what can I do to make them a common denominator. So then, because remember this is 1/2 and this is 1/3, if I were to count this up, this is actually going to be 3 is shaded in, and then I have 6 altogether, and I'm going to add 2 is shaded in, and I had 6 altogether. So then my answer is going to be 5, 6, because if I count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have 6 as my denominator. You're not wanting to count how many you have altogether in here because, guys, remember it's just a fraction plus a fraction, and we were making that common denominator. So then when I come over here to 1/3 and 1/5, making a fifth a little bit bigger, so I'm going to show 1/3 and I'm going to show 1/5. 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to shade that in, okay? So right now you're kind of thinking in your head, I've got 1/3, 1/5. I've got 3s and 5s. What could I do to get a common denominator? Well, if you're like, well, I want to get 15. So if I have 3, I need to have 5 different sections to show me 15. And on 5, I need to have 3 different sections to show me a total of 15. So if I were to count this up, this has 15 altogether, that one has 15 altogether. So then remember, this was a third and this was a fifth. So if I were to count this up, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 15ths because I have 15 parts. And then if I count this up, I have 1, 2, 3 parts and I add 15. And now I can go ahead and add them together of 5 plus 3 is 8 15ths. Okay, moving down here to 1/4 and 1/3. So I'm going to show 1/4. And I'm going to show 1/3. And so right now what I really want to think about is I want to think about what could I do to both of these fractions to have the same amount of parts in here. Well, if you're thinking about 4 and 3, I'm thinking 12 would be the smallest. So I know that on this 4, I need to just make 3 different parts. So I've got 2 lines. And on this 3rd, I need to make 4 different parts, or 3 different lines to make that 12. So remember, guys, if you counted this up, that's going to have 12 altogether, that's going to have 12 altogether. So then if I go ahead and count this up, I have 3 twelfths, and I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 twelfths, and when I add the 3 plus 4, I'm going to get 7 twelfths. Okay, so when you're doing this, there's really no way to like say, oh, well, I'm just going to draw all the same kind of lines in one fraction and the other. That's not true, because you're not always going to be multiplying this fraction by the same exact number on that fraction. Okay, so here I have 1/3, so I'm going to show 1/3, and here I'm going to show 1/7, and I made it a little bit bigger because I know I'm going to have sevenths. 5, 6, 7, and I'm going to shade in 1/7. And this, so now I've got to kind of think, well, what am I going to have to do to get 3 and 7 to have the same equal parts? Well, it's going to be 21 because that's the one I can think about. When I do 3, I know I need to make 6 lines or 7 equal parts. 4, 5, I'm running out of place, and then 6 and 7. Okay, so just kind of remember that's got a little piece down there. And on this one, I only need to make 3s because then I'm going to be able to have 7, 14, 21. Okay, so I know that I have 21 altogether, and if I were to count this, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I come over here, I've got 1, 2, 3, and I've got 21 altogether. 7 plus 3 is going to be 10 21sts. Okay, so just remember, guys, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that we are having the same exact parts in these, but if you notice, they're not going to be equally the same just because the fractions are different.